Hello, this is the Truckee Meadows Fire and Rescue Report. I'm Adam Mayberry, Communications Officer for Truckee Meadows Fire, and with us today is Division Chief August Isernhagen. Chief Isernhagen is over wildfire and fuels here at the fire district. With us is going to talk a little bit about the critical wildland fuels that we have and the current fire behavior we're seeing. Chief Isernhagen, as we tape this program, we're moving into the cooler season now. Fall will be just around the corner. Tell us the status of the wildland fuels here in northern Nevada.
Okay. Well, when we talk about fuel moistures in terms of wildland fire, there's two main areas that we focus on. One is the dead fuel moisture, which is the dead branches, the pine needles, those types of things out on the forest floor. And the other is the live fuel moisture, and that is the living plant, whether it's the pine tree or the sagebrush or the juniper. Dead fuel moisture is our closest tied attribute to large fire growth, and so normally we keep tabs on that pretty keenly through the summer. This summer, our dead fuel moistures have not dropped below critical thresholds very much. We've had a lot of thunderstorms, high relative humidities, those types of things. Conversely, though, our live fuel moisture is extremely drought stressed. And we've seen that, especially up in the timber, all summer long. When we're talking about the Tamarack fire, the Dixie fire, the Caldor fire, all of those fires, the driving force is that critically low live fuel moisture. So right now, as we go into the fall, our dead fuel moisture is wetter than would normally be expected, which is a positive. However, our live fuel moistures are extremely low, and that won't change until we get a decent amount of precipitation.
So is it fair to say that the threat is higher at some of the higher elevations where there's more timber, pine trees, that sort of vegetation?
That is absolutely fair to say. And with rolling into the fall, the caveat there is most of our catastrophic fires where we lost a bunch of houses and had fatalities occur in the fall months with approaching cold fronts. And that's the same with Little Valley Fire, Washoe Drive, Collin Ranch, Pine Haven last year. All of those are in that October, November, December timeframe, sometimes into January.
Right, so we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah.
Until we get measurable precip, meaning snow sticking on the ground or a tenth of an inch of rain, then we are not out of the...
Talk a little bit about red flag days. I suspect that we'll have a number of red flag days still this year. What is designated as a red flag day? Who makes that determination?
It is made by the National Weather Service, and there's a variety of variables that go into it. Low relative humidity, high winds, dry lightning, all of those can be inputs. And a red flag day is indicative of if we get a start, it could go really big, really fast, and to get out of the way. Back to your previous point, with us going into the fall, that's when we get those large wind events coming in, and so it would be fair to expect we will have several more red flag days before the winter comes.
I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about your particular division, which is new to the fire district. Your crews have done some absolute amazing work. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Wildland Fuels Division does for Truckee Meadows Fire and how they reduce the threat of wildfires here?
Absolutely. I came over to Truckee Meadows almost a year and a half ago. That's about when the program started. We started with 5 folks in one fire engine, and they would go out and do project clearing the hazardous fuels. We're up to right around 20 coming up in the next couple weeks. And what the group is they're essentially wildland firefighters. That's their trade. That's where they came from. And they're on all of these fires, all of our local fires. But when they're not on a fire, they're doing fuels management work. One of the primary funding sources is NV Energy. So they spend a ton of time clearing around NV Energy infrastructure, whether it's substations, power poles. And the idea there is twofold. Number one, if they remove the fuel around the base of a pole and there's a failure on the pole, then we're less likely to get a fire. And then as they clean up fuel around the infrastructure, we end up with fuel breaks that we can use for suppression to protect the homes in the community.
How can our residents in Washoe County qualify or get some of the services that we offer? Is that possible?
It is. We have multiple funding sources. Like I said, NV Energy is the primary one. There are other funding sources in the way of subgrants through Division of Forestry, as well as the Forest Service. We have grant applications in all over the place there. to do all of the different types of fuels work, not just tied to NV Energy. NV Energy will pay for fuels work if it's within a certain distance of the line, including on private property. So the best way to access those programs is, as the crews are coming through clearing the power line infrastructure, flag one of them down, ask them to come over and take a look at your property, and we can get you on a wait list. You can also find information on our website, and then also my email is a good source.
So in conclusion, let me ask you, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you give us a sense of how many utility poles and perhaps how much acres you have cleared?
Well, they're two separate measurements. Acreage, we're probably 400 to 500 acres in that range in the last year. Poles, the crews have done well over 2,000. Some of those are the same pole counted twice because they'll come through, they'll clear the fuel, and then in the fall, they'll come back and they'll put down herbicide to prevent cheatgrass invasion.
And one of the very popular programs Truckee Meadows Fire offers is the Green Waste Disposal Days, where we encourage people to create defensible space, and they can bring their dry vegetation to an assigned location that your crews support. I know you're preparing for that. Can you give us an insight on when we can expect announcing the fall Green Waste Collection Days?
Absolutely. Well, we're typically planning October, November. Most of the weekends during that time frame is when we do green waste. There will be 8 to 10 locations. We try to spread them out across the district so everybody's somewhat close by. In the past year, we've processed almost 2,300 loads of green waste, which is over 1 million pounds when you do the calculation. In terms of actual schedule, I would expect by middle of September, we'll have dates and locations lined up.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on the program, Chief. For more information on our Wildland Fuels Reduction programs, you can log on to our website at tmfpd.com. Thanks for watching.